do some live streaming and setting up meeting. All right. So while we are waiting, so just okay. Okay. So it seems to be also live in YouTube right now. Okay, that's good.
There we go.
Okay. Um, what is going on? All right. Okay. Wow. Quite a lot of people turning out. I just sent the email in the very last minute. All right. Okay. Stan, Carrie, Mark, Dina, hey, Barbara. Okay. All right. Adriana, Andrew, PD. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So we will begin in now. Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Hey, Janet. Hey, good to see you. Good to see you all. See, how do I pin my face in here? Okay, so let me pin my face, pin Federico's face in here. All right, awesome. Okay, so let's begin. So, hello everybody. This is the camera. Okay. Welcome and very excited to have you here, coming to join with you, my very good friend and also an inspiration for my wildlife photography. So, for some of you, like first of all, wave at me if you can hear me. Okay. All right. Let me just see okay. So that is wonderful. Uh, so for some of you, so wave at me, wave at me if you already know who Federico is. Well, some of them haven't. So maybe if you allow me, let me say a few words about Federico. So about 15 years ago, I was starting photography, and in a trip to Barnes and Noble, I picked up a copy of Nature's Best Photography magazine. I was blown away by the photo of two buffaloes fighting, and of course that was the grand prize of Federico's photo in Nature's Best Wind Smith Rice International, and I was deeply inspired. And so I have been following Federico for the longest time. And in the last few years, I was very fortunate to develop a great friendship with Federico. And we are also co-leading workshops and doing some mentorship stuff. And some of you here are our students. So hello. Very excited today because Federico has a Kickstarter that is ending in a day. And this, for Federico, is his third book. So his first one is Light and Dust. Second one is One Life. And this time is Walk the Earth. And this book, very surprisingly, is only dedicated to one animal, the elephant. So I'm very happy to be able to invite Federico in. I know that some of you are photographers, some of you are wildlife lovers. So I want to make this one more interactive and also so that I can provide you the most value. So along the way, if you have any questions, let me see, is there like a Q&A button here? Is there Q&A? I don't see a Q&A here. Poll and quizzes.
There's no
Well,
Q&A, it's just chat.
just chat. Okay. So then then just type your questions in the Q&A, and then we will try to get to you as soon as possible. And anyways, with so what we're gonna do today, right, is very short time, only about 30 minutes. And so what we're gonna do is to touch on three things. Number one is, of course, for Federico to tell us about the book. But even more importantly, it is there are some very big issues for elephants right now. And I think if we care about wildlife, we should all care about it. And then Federico will share more about this and how we can help. And number three, of course, is the fun thing, which is the photography. A lot of us take photos of elephants. We have seen photos of elephants, but I can proudly say that Federico probably is one of the best, if not the best, photographer in the world for taking photos of elephants. I mean, his photos is on the cover of Remembering Elephant, and including a lot of great works in all the publications. So we want to kind of like take his wisdom, and so that he can share with us what are the most common mistakes and how do we like approach the photography of elephants, because there's so many of them. So without further ado, please welcome Federico to our talk. And maybe
Thank you.
Federico, you can say a few words about what motivated you to do this book, and what is the story behind it, and what you want to achieve through publishing this book.
Well, thank you, Tin Man, for hosting me and for this opportunity to have a chat. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm very happy. This book is kind of probably the book that I've dreamed to do when I was a little child, because elephants have been my favorite subject, my favorite animals since when I developed my love for African wildlife. It was mostly about elephants. The cats have come up and I've joined my interest a bit later. But when I was a child, it was all about elephants and the big tuskers in particular. There is one elephant that is very famous in Kenya. He was like a living monument in the 60s and 70s. Maybe I can share a picture of, I can bring out a picture of his reconstruction from somewhere. So this elephant was called Hamed. He was the biggest tusker in the world at the time, and he was protected. I'm not sharing yet. I'm still digging it out. I haven't. Right. I
Sorry about that. Yeah.
I know I didn't. I don't have it ready. Let me. But where I'll get it out. But basically, I visited when I came to Kenya for the first time. I was 6 years old, and one of the things that stayed with me the most was when I went to see basically the reconstruction and the skeleton of Hamed, who had died of natural causes of old age a few years earlier. So that thing stayed with me, and that probably this passion for elephants since when I was a child, and then the encountering Hamed and reading the stories about Hamed, these are probably the things that over time pushed me to make this book. And the other thing, when really the whole journey started, is when I saw for the first time the very famous elephant team, which you also saw, Tin Man, with me in 2019. I saw him for the first time in 2010, and that encounter was like it's like a true hair of Hamed alive in front of me, and that encounter sparked my interest to try to look for all of the great tuskers that still live in Kenya. Fortunately, Kenya is the country that more than any other still hosts most of these great tuskers. These great tuskers are special individual elephants with extremely long and heavy tusks. They are very charismatic. They are the epitome of elephants. The most sought after and the most also, given the fact that tusks grow with age, elephants with long tusks are generally the older one, the wiser ones, and so therefore they're also the most favored in elephant society for mating, the most sought after by females, and the most dominant ones in the population. So they're very important in the population, in elephant population. They're amazing to see. So I decided to try to look for all the ones that I could find in Kenya through the years, and so that's now I've decided to put all of this together now.
Yeah, some of you also was written in the comments, and I remember the first time I went to Africa, I was hoping to see an elephant, and I thought one elephant is an elephant, and it's an elephant, and then the first time we saw was when Tim and Craig show up together, right, Patrick? Yeah. And I was blown away because they're tusker. I thought that all the tuskers are big, but then when I saw these, they are like basically like less than a feet off the ground. It's that big. And Federico, are they more related to the woolly mammoth, or like why is that there is this genetic change?
No. It's not really a genetic change. Actually, what we're seeing and what we see when we see an elephant with very long tusks, we're actually seeing the remnants of what elephant populations looked like before the advent of man, or before men started hunting them extensively for their ivory, and both legally during the last 300-400 years, ivory has been the most traded commodity out of Africa. This constant process of targeting the elephants with the longer tusks has caused the fact that now we see very few of them. But
oh, really?
500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, if we could go back in time, Tim and Craig would probably be more common, something not as rare as they are today, because the elephants have been these ones in particular, like more ivory, more weight, more money for the traders. So obviously these are the first ones that have been killed. And not only that, the sports hunters have been targeting these elephants in all of Africa because they are the best, the best looking trophy, the most impressive trophies. So even this has contributed to the fact that there are very few of them, because the elephants like Tim or Craig, already when they are 30, 35 years old, we have some bulls in Amboseli and in Savo who have extremely long tusks already, or who have very long tusks, but they're only 30, 35 years old. They're not that old. But in elephant society, the elephants generally begin to mate successfully in a healthy population. They start mating more successfully when they get to 35, 40 years of age. So with the hunters hunting an elephant that already has long tusks, but that elephant might be 30 years old, 32, 35. This means that elephant hasn't reproduced yet, hasn't started reproducing yet. And so this is the process of elimination of the big tusk, the great tusker gene from the gene pool of an elephant population. This is what has happened in many countries in Africa. Unfortunately, to a lesser extent, it has happened in Kenya, but much less in Kenya, because since 1977, we have completely banned trophy hunting. So this is one of the reasons why these elephants are a bit more common in Kenya. But unfortunately, as everyone else in Africa, we have had poaching. Poaching also has been targeting the biggest, the biggest tuskers as well. But whereas poachers do not have the freedom to go around and choose and pick which elephants to kill, because they cannot act, they cannot move freely and openly in a place because they're doing something illegal. Trophy hunters have the advantage of having the liberty to choose exactly the elephant that they want to kill, the biggest one, the biggest tuskers, and that's a very, very, very detrimental impact.
Wow! Thanks for sharing with us, Federico. Yes, and I remember so in last October, Federico and I were in Zimbabwe, and for some of you who have been to Zimbabwe in October, you know how hot it was. It was like 120 degrees, and we were walking along in the field, and then I was panting. I was like near fainting, and then I asked so I was kneeling down and then stand up, kneeling down and stand up. I said, Federico, I kind of feel like I'm gonna go to collapse. And then Federico said, oh, Tin Man, it's normal. I just keep pushing. But what we found out in places like Zimbabwe, there was a crazy thing that happened. And it was that some of the elephants don't have tuskers. And so I asked Federico, so why? And Federico, can you say it's also related to this?
Yeah, exactly. In Zimbabwe, in the Zambezi Valley, so many elephants, especially females, don't have tusk at all. It's an adaptation of the elephant species to an adverse environment for elephants that carry long tusks. So with the elephants carrying long tusks being eliminated more and more, the ones that are born without tusk, which normally are a very small percentage of the population, it is a genetic variation that you also see in Kenya sometimes. In Amboseli, every once in a while, there is an elephant that is born without tusks. It's not uncommon. It's maybe they talk about 5% in a normal population. 2 to 5% would be without tusks. But in a population where the ones with tusks are constantly hammered, the ones without tusks can reproduce more and become a more dominant percentage in the population. The problem is that the elephants are not born with tusks for no reason. Tusks are very important for elephants for dominance, as an act of dominance, defending themselves from predators. So a female would use the tusk to defend her calf from lions or hyenas, and then they use tusk to also reap the bark of the trees when it's very dry. So they're also useful for feeding. So these elephants, who would be a normally small percentage of a population, being without tusk is not a good gene for elephant society. It's a gene that shouldn't be prevailing, but we humans are forcing elephants. We carry the best genes for the population to be wiped out, and so therefore we favor a gene that is in natural conditions should not be favorable. So it's an adverse selection that we are forcing on the elephant species. So it's a detrimental to the species as a whole. Because then those elephants have less chances of survival. They are thinner. They can't feed enough. Their calves get taken more from lions. So it's a very negative impact that we're having but this is not something this is a result of hundreds of years of persecution.
Yeah, I see. So now I understand much more about the significance of your work and your passion in doing that. And for some of you who know about like the situation of wolves in Yellowstone, I think there is something very similar. It's like the Yellowstone National Park protect the wolves, but once the wolf got out of the park, they got hunted, right? And that recently similar things happened in Tanzania, right, Federico, where some
Absolutely.
big tusks.
Exactly. Because Amboseli National Park, Amboseli is in Kenya, is probably the most famous park for elephants photography, for seeing elephants, and for great tuskers, along with Tsavo. Tsavo and Amboseli hosts probably the last viable gene pool for great tuskers in the world. Probably also Kruger a little bit in South Africa still has another viable gene pool, but let's say the majority are now in Amboseli and Tsavo. The problem is that Amboseli is very close to the border with Tanzania, and elephants don't know no borders, unfortunately. Elephants do migrate into Tanzania. And Tanzania, differently from Kenya, has not banned trophy hunting. However, for the last 30, 35 years, 40 years, they had completely stopped trophy hunting in the areas that are neighboring the Amboseli ecosystem. They are part of the Amboseli ecosystem because those elephants are like a transboundary population, so they were considered not to be hunted. And these status had resisted for about, as I said, 35 years. But last year, out of nowhere, 2023, the Tanzanian government issued 5 licenses to kill bull elephants just across the border from Amboseli. And this was terrible. They kept it hidden. It was only the magazine Africa Geographic who raised the news. The hunters were burning the carcasses to make sure that no one would recognize those elephants, no one would get to know about what they were doing. And over the course between September and March, they killed 5 big bulls from the Amboseli population. So of course, everybody panicked, because now as I said, we have in Amboseli, we are protecting these elephants as natural and national heritage, and they're so important for the economy, they're so important for tourism, they're so important, as we said, for the population. So to have them killed as soon as they cross the border in such large numbers, because 5 elephants in 5 months is an enormous number, especially when the hunter is targeting specifically the big bulls with big tusks. So this is as a potentially devastating impact on the Amboseli elephant population as well. So there's been a lot of protests, petitions, all these sorts of things, but so far not so much has happened. And now we have to see if the government of Tanzania will issue another set of licenses. There is a risk that they may issue another set of licenses. They don't care at all. They're just there for the big money. For trophy hunters, the prospect of killing an elephant like Craig, Craig is at the moment is the #1 in Amboseli, but for them, killing a big tusker similar to Craig is like a dream. And so the hunters must be pulling a lot of money into making sure that Tanzania gives them this permission and makes it legal for hunting these last great tuskers. So this is news. When the news broke out last year, I was starting to think, okay, who have they killed? Who are they killing? You don't know which, because the elephants from Amboseli, they only come to Amboseli for a short time, and then they migrate out in all the ecosystem that unfortunately is not all protected, and some of that is in Tanzania. So no one really knew which elephants had been killed. Some people thought, we started thinking which of the big boys have been targeted. So now that as time goes by, people are reporting the ones that come back to Amboseli as elephants that are still alive, fortunately, after the massacre of 5 elephants. It's terrible. It's terrible what Tanzania is doing. It's a devastating thing. It made me really, really upset with the country. Of course, the people have nothing to do with it. It's an amazing country, but the government and the trophy hunters are doing something extremely, extremely bad. Terrible, terrible.
I see. Wow,
absolutely terrible.
So I think this is just crazy to think about, and I'm so glad that you bring it out to all of us so that we can share more of this message. And we as wildlife photographers and nature lovers, now that we understand about the whole significance of these big tuskers, and those without a tusker and the smaller ones, all because of the what humans are doing, unfortunately. So I'm glad that you are also working on this Kickstarter and then working on this book so that you can educate more of those people. And so now, why don't we now, knowing about the whole importance of this, right? Not only do all of us need to work to do it, but as a wildlife photographers, we can of course keep on using our photos to share this message. So maybe we'll let Federico to share a few photos in his book and tell us more about. Well, so far, I hope you guys are learning more about elephants, right? And then about the big tuskers, what is the significance and why we as the wildlife lover and nature photographer have something to do it, right? So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very important for everyone to just be aware of. There's also another challenge that we should mention when we talk about elephants. Maybe I should share the screen so we can. Okay, this is the cover of the book. The book is going to come out in December, and the cover of this book features a very famous big tusker from Amboseli National Park called Tolstoy. He was one of the biggest, related to Tim as well, coming from the same family. And unfortunately, in 2022, Tolstoy was killed, not by trophy hunters, but from human-wildlife conflict. Unfortunately, Tolstoy, as the team was doing exactly the same thing, but he managed to survive. These elephants have a habit to look for food in places where they shouldn't be looking for food, in crop, in fields from agricultural fields that are coming up surrounding the Amboseli ecosystem and surrounding natural ecosystems. And every night, the elephants like Tim and Tolstoy, they would go into the go into the fields at night, raid the crops, and this would have a very bad impact, very significant impact on the population on the lives of those populations that live surrounding the ecosystem where elephant lives. So this is probably the human-wildlife conflict is probably the biggest threat for elephants in general, but as we can see, also for great tuskers, because Tolstoy fell victim to it. So I think when we look at the threats that face the elephants, these are the main ones: the human wildlife, poaching, trophy hunting. That's what is the biggest threats for them at the moment. So you want to start having a look at photographic aspects, Tinman?
Yeah. So one quick question. So how many big tuskers are being left on Earth? Do you know?
I think there's probably less than 20 at the moment. Then we have new ones. We have young ones coming up. So
20.
I think, let's say less than 20 when we talk about size like Craig, like Tolstoy, like Tim. Those would not be more than 20. From what is known, I think less than 20 would be a correct estimate. About 20 maybe, considering Kruger, considering Tsavo, Chulu, Amboseli, I would say around 20. But fortunately, in Tsavo, in Amboseli, there are some young ones coming up who are not as big as Tim and Craig and Tolstoy, but they're getting there. So if allowed to grow up, they would become Tim and Craig of the future, basically. So that's why we have to be very careful, and we have to make sure that these elephants are protected.
So you mean 20 in Kenya?
No, in the whole of Africa, Tinman.
I see, because I saw some people questioning it. Yeah, like asking about is this only in Kenya? So it's the whole Africa.
In the whole of Africa, elephants of this size, like Tolstoy, we're talking about the super big ones, the 40 years old and older, 45 years old and older. I think we're talking about, because tuskers, but generally traditionally tuskers are considered elephants with tusk weighing more than 100 pounds. That's about 45 kg, if I'm not mistaken. So these would be the standard, but Tim's tusk were weighing actually 65, 70 kg, much more than that. So those, you can call them tuskers. So if you say just tusker above 100 pounds, then there's going to be more. But elephants with tusks the size of Tolstoy and Tim, really super tuskers, that's not more than 20.
I see. So one thing I want to talk about in this photo, instead of Federico, is because he got so many good photos, but sometimes he's so humble, and I'm not. So I have to share with you. So the reason, like when you go to Africa, right, when you see elephants, a lot of the time they are, in a habitat that has tall grass, branches, very difficult, distracting backgrounds, and rarely can you see an elephant that have all the 4 feet clear in the frame. So that is already very difficult. And Federico is one of the few photographers who have been spending a lot of the time in some place in Amboseli that has a dry lake, right? And the dry lake, when it's dried, it basically, we talk in photography about how to look for opportunities that has no distractions, and that is the time when you can see and the thing is, when you go into the big the dry lake, a lot of the time you don't see elephants, and when you see a lot of them, they are not the big tuskers. So to have an opportunity like that is almost a once a lifetime. So if people don't know, they will see, oh, there's an elephant walking this night. You didn't know how much time and effort to have something that is this spectacular. And also, the light is nice and soft with the cloudy sky is also very rare, because sometimes they show up in the middle of the day with blue sky, and then you have a harsh shadow and all this. And in the background, we have mountains that, we will talk a little bit about those things. And also another thing is, when you want to show a photo of elephant, which we also talk about, and the reason is that I learned a lot from Federico too about the black and white. But when people see a black and white, you give a sense that is timeless and classic, and it's like what we see from thousands of years, millions of years ago. And then the dry lake also have this almost like a Death Valley kind of feeling to it. So combining this one, the dry lake leading to the elephants, and also the sky, and the head angle and everything, is a very special photo. And I hope that, because not a lot of people talk about Federico's photos and also the elephants. So I wanted to use this opportunity to share with you how rare and difficult it is, and also the reason behind it is, that's it, 20 laps in Africa, and soon our next generation will not even see one if we don't do something. And as photographers, I always tell people, some of my photographer, like some of the photographers I know, they think that, okay, we just go and take some snapshot of an elephant and come home. But I think for wildlife photographers who have an opportunity to see these big tuskers, we should use our best skill, best patience to get the best photos of them, so that it evoke an emotion, and then we can actually help them. So anyway, so Federico, hope that you don't mind me telling about all these stories.
Thanks. All true. This is the only time I've personally seen a great tusker like him walking on the dry lake. So it was really indeed very special moment. I photographed. I tried to include the lake. The main thing that I thought about when I was seeing the scene, I was trying to capture the cracked soil of the lake in front of the elephant, to convey this sense of the elephant walking on such a harsh and hostile environment and land. So this is I tried to put the elephant above in the upper half of the frame, and keep the foreground, feel the foreground, the foreground in the lower half. So this is actually the cover. The image is actually, the actual image is more panoramic. Is a 6x4 in the panoramic format.
I see.
Yeah,
like this is the only time you saw him on the dry lake, and I've never seen a big tusker in the dry lake in the last few years I went, and so that's why this so rare. And anyway, so now you know. Okay, so please go on, Federico.
We wanted to see which are the main, discuss some of the key things to keep in mind when photographing elephants, how to try to photograph them to convey their majesty and their isn't it? That's what we wanted to discuss. So let's have a look. Yes. This is an image of, you remember this one? We took it together. We took it with you and our group in 2023, Tin Man. This is Leroy. This elephant is called Leroy. He's a emerging tusker, and he's one of the, I put it here because he's one of the ones we are fearing, who visits Tanzania a lot. We don't know whether this elephant is still alive, thanks to those hunters from Tanzania. So this is why I had it here. So let's see. Let's try to break down somehow the key elements. How do we get an evocative image of elephants? That I think the main risk with elephants is the risk of the Wikipedia kind of shot, the shot that is just documenting how an elephant is, without any impact, without any emotion, without any drama in it. And that's certainly what I would try to overcome this risk. And so one of the things is light, Tin Man. I like photographing elephants in side lighting, especially when the sun is very low. And so most of the elephant is dark, and maybe the light only hits the eyes. This is what happened with the cover of Remembering Elephant. This is an image, just an example. So look for the moody light, the dramatic light, the side lighting. Normally, Tin Man, we like backlighting a lot. But do you think backlighting can work with elephants very well, or?
Yeah, so this is a good question from Federico. You know, for a lot of photographers, so actually most of the photographers want to get the front lit, right? And then some of the photographers will say, I want more emotion, I want the backlit. And I mean, we have been talking, and I learned from you that, you know, elephants is, you know, like a big blob and there's no fur, no hair. So for backlit, you want the rim lights of this fluffy, you know, hair and stuff. But elephant has none. So to get backlit, to make the photo work, there is only very few opportunities, but most of the time it doesn't work, right? So Federico, you know, the opportunities.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly. For backlighting, you really need dust or mist and light, something to separate the elephant from the background. Otherwise, it will just be a black shape on a dark background, which will not work at all, isn't it? So for lighting, front lighting is, of course, takes away a lot of drama, but in certain light conditions, because elephants, unfortunately, they tend to be quite active in the middle of the day as well. So many times you will come across elephants in the middle of the day, and when the sun is high in the sky, the shadows become very harsh. That's why the time when I really love to take pictures of elephants is cloudy weather. This is by far my favorite conditions to photograph elephants. So you have uniform light, maybe a bit of light coming through the clouds. The sun is behind the clouds. The clouds diffuse the light. You get a little bit of light, but not the harsh shadows that we see in the middle of the day. And on top of that, you get the clouds filling the sky, which make really nice photographs, which fill up and add a lot of drama to the image. So best condition for me for elephants, cloudy. No harsh shadows, and you can get all the texture out, all their size, you know, you get their dimension. That works out really well.
Yes.
You mentioned something about
can you sorry, can you go back?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and we probably are going to talk about the mistakes in a bit, but one thing that really make a huge difference in my own photography in the last 10-15 years is the attention to details. So you know, Federico was talking about the light. So from here, you know, the light angle is dramatic, the head turn looking into the light, and then with the tuskers, and it feels like it's like watching a dinosaurs movie, right? But the thing is, the attention to details, if you look into the tuskers and also the feet, there is like all well separated. And the trunk as well. So everything, you know, there is none that is blocking completely. So so that is what makes the photo spectacular compared to most of the other photos. So I just wanted you all to see, you know, also, you know, the ears, like the symmetry of it, but most importantly is the feet. Like Federico and I both have this pet peeves whenever we see like a three-legged animal, because of the feet is overlapped, and those like we really like the visually it lost like probably 10 times that power. So so this is a very important one of the big mistakes that we see a lot of the photos of elephants make. So anyways, yes.
Good point. Very true. Another thing, very important element, we mentioned it with the backlighting, bringing out the atmosphere, thanks to elements elements in the weather. You might remember this image, Tin Man, from our first safari in 2019.
Yes.
Misty morning. These are the situations where you can make an image in backlighting with elephant's work. So mist, giving that layer behind the elephant to silhouette the elephant against the light. Dust also works as well. So when you photograph elephants and you have dramatic conditions, dramatic weather conditions, that's where you can really get some stunning photographs from in those moments. Look for them. Look for those dramatic conditions for unusual and extraordinary images.
Yes, that's definitely. I remember that morning, and it was a morning that at first there was like nothing special. It's just like a typical morning, but all of a sudden, right? You remember the fog suddenly comes in, and so we were in the beginning we were kind of relaxing, and then once we see the fog, it's game changing, because we know that anything we can find in the fog would have this emotion. So we're kind of reversing the process. We know the condition first, and then we were driving, like, like really looking out. You're standing up trying to look for, all we need is an elephant to fit into the environment. And then when we find one, I say yes, and then we got in, and then we positioned ourselves, and then back to the first point about the attention to details, because we know that any tiny little mistakes of the composition of the feed and everything like that, the separation would ruin the photo. So basically, like the condition, and then the sighting, and then making sure not of those mistakes would turn the photo to be spectacular. Yes.
Yeah. So this is we got quite a lot of images from this one. I think I had a wider one as well. This one tighter was a very, very good morning, because the sun was rising right behind the elephants, and so you get this beautiful warm light, but very diffuse, very soft, and probably one of the things that you will see the most if you get the book. Try to be close to the elephants. It really brings out a lot of their power. Being close to a subject makes that subject feel more present in the images. Here is Tim in 2016. We can see, taken with the wide angle, 28 millimeters, is almost, you can feel his presence in the image very strongly. And the same with this image here, 36 millimeters. So if you can, if the elephants are relaxed, in all safety, if you're lucky to be close enough to an elephant, especially if it's one of these great tuskers, these will produce very, very strong images generally, because you will really feel the presence of the power, the majesty of the elephant by being so close to him. Whereas when you photograph with a longer lens, everything tends to be flattened away in the distance. The wide angle brings whatever, let's say, the closer the subject, whatever is close will appear closer, and you can create a more three-dimensional images, both with the body of the elephant, but also with other elements in the background, as well as with this smaller elephant in the bottom left, that kind of gives you that depth in joining up with the main character here. So getting close, if elephants are not disturbed, if they come, the elephants in certain places, they're quite relaxed, so they will come close to the vehicles. Don't put away your camera. That's the moment when you want to get your camera out and take some great photographs in those situations.
Yeah, is this Tim, you said?
Yeah, this is Tim.
Oh,
yeah.
This is Tim. So like type in the chat if anyone has seen Tim, because Tim was the one with the largest tuskers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody
special.
in the call was. So some of the our audience were asking, oh, some of you have seen Tim. Okay, very lucky. Like, are you able to get out of the vehicle to photograph from a lower perspective?
No, you're not. No, you're not. That's another point. Because the closer you are, the lower you have to be if you don't want to push them down and you want to convey their presence. You have to be as low as possible on the ground. But you can't get off the vehicles with elephants unless you're in monopools, where we know that some elephants are quite tolerant and the guides know them very well. But in Amboseli and in other places, getting out of the car with elephants would be a big mistake. Some people do get out of the car when in proximity with Craig, because Craig is a very relaxed elephant. However, that is a very risky move. We don't know, it could have, nothing happens because he's so relaxed, but first he doesn't like it that much. You often see him a bit disturbed when he sees people, and you never know whether maybe there might be another elephant. He could get upset. He could be in a bad mood. It could really, it's really unnecessary to get off the vehicle with him, I think, and with elephants in general, unless in situations where where it is fully, first if it's allowed. And if you are in safe conditions, like with a good guide who knows the elephants thoroughly and knows how to move with the elephants, how to react, reads their behavior, and even worse is when people have their pictures taken like a selfie in front of the elephants. We see that from Yellowstone a lot with the bisons. There's no reason to. Some people do that. Some people do things that are not that might have consequences. Let's say, because if people see a picture of somebody in front of Craig, they might think, okay, well, there's another. There's another elephant. I'm going to get off the car to photograph this elephant, and that elephant suddenly is not the same character, not the same attitude. So he will. It might have bad consequences. So what we have to do is we have to try to find ways to put the car to get low anyway, but still being in the car. Tin Man, isn't it? That's what we that's what we try to do. We try to use the LCD of the mirrorless, maybe the monopod, and shoot in remote. So there are ways.
Yes. And I saw Brad is here. Yes, Brad, great to have you. Yeah, and many people are leaving good comments about that. Yeah. So thank you, Federico, for sharing those. And God, time is running out. God, I can't believe that. Yeah. But anyways, it's good. Please go on. I hope that you guys don't mind.
Very important element as well. When you're photographing elephants, as we said, the risk is you just get the whole elephant, you get the whole elephant in the frame, and the image loses a bit of impact. But sometimes elephants, they're very social creatures. They're very, they like to stay with one another. They like to interact, the babies with mothers, calves playing with each other, bulls fighting, big bulls fighting. So there are many situations where elephants get together, and in those situations it is very important to focus tightly on where the emotion happen, where the emotion is, where the emotional element is. And in many cases it's the trunk. The trunk is the main tool that elephants use to communicate, to greet each other. So going tighter will probably bring out a lot more impact from interacting images like this one. The trunks are entangled and wrapping around each other. These are the kind of things that will make an image a bit more bring you that emotion of these two elephants closer to you as a viewer, let's say.
Yeah, those are great stuff. Yes.
And finally, elephants. You may know this one as well, Tin Man.
Yes.
We were together on this one. We were almost fainting at 48 degrees probably, but we held on, and we saw these beautiful elephants walking in the forest in monopools. Elephants, being such large creatures, they fill up landscapes very beautifully. And they work great to bring life to a landscape that is very nice, very evocative. Places like monopools, but this is just an example. So everywhere that you have a fantastic habitat, like the deserts of Namibia, etc., when you find an elephant and you can blend the elephant into this landscape, this will work out, will make work for some extraordinary creatures. It is very important to note that in these kind of images, when you want to portray that elephant immersed in the habitat, it's not great. This is the time when you don't want to be close to the elephant, because otherwise the elephant takes over the scene and you just photograph an elephant, maybe an elephant with a messy background like this one. But if you are far away from the elephant, and so the elephant is completely immersed in the landscape, you photograph with the long lens, sometimes images work a lot better. This is the time when you want to use long lens and being far.
Yeah, I have something to add. Like, Federico, when in his first book, Like and Dust, is a beautiful book, a lot on the backlit dust and those, and then the One Life, a lot of them in black and white. And for elephants, I think one of the very important aspects is because elephants are huge, right? So in terms of photography, if you are able to, just like what Federico says, show them to look actually small in the landscape, it would actually be even more powerful sometimes, because then people will, oh, because the elephant is big and now it is small, then the landscape is amazing. But it requires a lot of challenge. People will say, like, why don't we do it in Yellowstone? Why don't we do it in other places? But like, because of the habitat, it's just sometimes it's very difficult, and that's why we keep on searching for the right places. For example, here in Manapus, and then there's a place in Amboseli with the dry lake. So we as a photographer can spend a lot of time to look for the places where we can show the animals more in frame, but it doesn't work every time. So we always have to be ready. I think some of you, Kevin was asking about what are the lenses that you should bring, 3 lenses. And yes, you're right. Like 3 bodies, 3 lenses are the minimum. But actually not, it's ideal, not more, because if you have 4 cameras, it's more difficult to do it. But I think it's a good idea to always try to go wider, or sometimes instead of always trying to go close to the animals, because of course, if you wait and then the animals come to you, it's okay. But like you have heard a lot of the horror stories of some photographers who try to get super close, and then the animals get agitated. And I make the wrong assumption in the beginning of photography when I show Federico some photos of elephants that I saw because I have never photographed an elephant before, and I show him some photos. Oh, this is cool, right? But Federico can tell me, some of the very experienced people, here too, for some all of you, if you spend enough time with the animals, from looking at a photo whether the animals are being stressed or not. But this is very important. So at the time, I didn't know about elephants. So I showed Federico some photos. I said, oh, this one is upset. This one is not upset. And then I realized a lot. I learned a lot about it's so important to pay the respect to animals, give them enough space, and slowly approach. If they don't feel comfortable, we leave instead of trying to approach. But sorry, I kept on talking. But yeah, so those are all very good points. So.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Very, very, very important point. Being close is good, but it has to be the elephant's decision or the animal decision to come to you in a relaxed way. Never push them. Absolutely, never.
Yep.
Absolutely right.
Yep.
Shall we look? I think you're very good at bringing out the mistakes. I dug out some of the images. I think we already mentioned them, because when we say the good things to do, then of course the opposite would be less. Doing the opposite, but these are typical. I dug out some old images. Higher angle. Look at the one on the left. Horizon line through the body. Higher angle, elephant pushed down, another elephant in the background, a lot of ugly soil behind the elephant. Even though the attitude of the elephant is quite nice, because it's a young boy kind of waving ears a little bit, but the photo is a disaster. So this is one example. The risk that, being high angle. And then there's another thing that it's important to mention when we think of front lighting. The reason why I said I like clouds is because front lighting also makes shadows. And shadows are very, very annoying and distracting at times, especially if there's more than one elephant. One elephant's shadows will be on the other elephant, making a dark spot right where an elephant should be there instead. So this is very hard to manage and very difficult to get nice images in those conditions, especially as elephants live in groups, so they're often together. So you almost always have the shadow of one cast on the other one, basically. So that's something to keep in mind also. And here we see a little bit, you have these black ears on this young elephant on the left, black ears, the dark ears, not great, not great.
Yeah, those are great points. And I think one of the most common problems as what we see is, Federico judge a lot of photo contests, and we a lot of time we talk about some near miss, and one of the most common near miss is that horizon line cutting across the head of the elephants, and also if the background is messy, it just take away a lot of the whole flow of the visual flow of the image. So those are very important. And elephant is like another game, because for other like big cats, like we need to get fast. Like, one time Federico and I were photographing in menopause, and we saw this family walking, and then we saw there's an opening, like probably 30 feet before them, and there would be like a nice framing, and then the distance with like the blue forest and all, and we were so excited. We said, finally, 46-degree weather, we finally got it. And the elephant just stopped there. Without advancing for that next 20 feet, and we waited there for 4 hours. We're drying ourselves, like pouring water in our head, and the elephant is just not moving. And there were times, I don't know, any of you would relate to me, like sometimes the elephant would just keep walking, and then they will have 1 feet waist from the back, and then the feet would be just like hanging, and then they would just pause for another hour or two. It's incredible when you see this place. The whole world. That's why I think photographing elephant is very calming, in that you watch them, like there's no rush in life, right? And for me, like when I watch them, I feel so calm, and so it's a lot of fun, a lot of challenge. They're like completely different from a lot of the animals we photograph in terms of the lighting and those. And then when you see a big tusker, is like another world. So I think that is one of the reasons why Federico is so fascinated, and I agree. I would too, right? And after knowing them and knowing the challenge, and so yeah, so I highly recommend you guys to check out Federico's new book, which has 100 photos, right, Federico? 100.
About 100, yeah. We do about 100, yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine that? And soon, I mean, if we have time in the future, we will also go over some of these photos. And if you guys want to learn more about how some of the photos were made, how did it happen? Because how many of you wave at me if you didn't even understand about the difficulty of the first photo when you see the dry lake and the big tuskers walking? But now, by understanding the whole history, understanding all these components, it looks so simple. Yet, I think simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Sorry about my English, but so that is why when you buy Federico's book, like go into the Kickstarter. What is the link of it? Let me just type in the link there. What you can do is to learn. It's basically like a master class of photography in itself. Let me just put in the link here. And by looking at each of his photos, and the same thing happens when back then, when my friend Paul McKinsey, some of you might know him, he was chatting with me, and he said, have you bought Federico's Light and Dust? And at the time, I think he just announced it, and it happened. He said, this is like the best book of photography. And then I bought it, and I think it's sold out now. So like you guys can even buy it. Anyways, so by just looking into each book, look at where the light is coming from, how the composition was made, and not only can you learn more about the story of the animal, which I believe Federico has written on it, but also the dedication, the struggle, like in Zimbabwe is 47 degrees, 4 hours waiting. And some of the places it's just like like Federico has been photographing there for 27 years now, 30 years. And there's only one of the few times we saw a big tuskers walking into the lake with all the components, the cloud, the soft light and everything. So yeah, it's definitely something that you should buy and share with your friends as well, and see, like I know some of you got very excited, very angry as well about the whole hunting human conflict and those. And when you just think about the magnitude of it, when Federico said about 20, I thought he meant like, even if it's just Kenya, it's already sad, but it's like the whole Africa. And I just can't believe what humans have done, right? Like over these years, and not only to kill them, but to make them like change like the whole, like the genetic of it, to adapt to the cruelty of human. So it's just very sad. And since time is running out, Federico, do you have anything to add to it?
I think I think we've covered quite some ground. We see you were mentioning we've already talked about a lot of encounters with some of the great tuskers. But you had asked me, you wanted to know more about one in particular.
Yes,
and
yes, you can share with us. Yes.
If I would probably, this elephant here is one of the 20 for sure, probably the biggest one in the world at the moment, but probably hard to tell, but let's say at least one of the biggest, and is an extremely elusive elephant, hardly ever seen at all, but ever seen from the ground. I'm probably one of the few 10 people who have seen this elephant from the ground. He's only seen from aerial patrol by rangers and researchers. But from the ground, it was my dream since I started looking for these tuskers to photograph him, to find him and photograph him. His name is Balguda. He lives in Tsavo National Park. As I said, for years I've been trying to find him, trying to understand where he would be. Failed for many years until last year in August. I waited at a drinking spot where where I was seeing elephants going to drink, and eventually one evening he appeared, and that's the time when I said, okay, now that I've seen him and photographed him, he's an extremely unapproachable elephant. He would not let you come close at all. I didn't even try. So all of these photographs were taken without him knowing that I was there at all. Otherwise, he would have totally panicked. That's the elephants in that area are so unhabituated to people that the only way to see them is to just be completely silent and don't move at all. Don't turn on the engine, nothing, just stay still and wait. And then when they come, unfortunately, he came a couple of times to drink. So that's the let's say the culmination of this photographic journey into the world of great tuskers. Here he is. You see, you may wonder what are they drinking? There's no water here. What are you talking about, Federico? No, these elephants are actually digging water, underground water in the riverbed. So they're not drinking surface water, they're digging and getting water from underground. So that's how, in such remote and dry areas, that's what elephants have to do. And this brings out an extremely important role that elephants have, because they open the holes that other animals then use to drink as well, like baboons, impalas, lions, leopards. Everyone uses the holes that elephants open up. So that's very important. So these would be my number one and final encounter with Balguda here. So
wow. Yes, I remember you told me, Tin Man, I'm going to Tsavo and trying to look for an elephant. That was really documented. And then I remember you spent so much time, and this one really summarized your dedication, right? For some of you who don't know, Federico did his degree in economics and switched to full-time photographer. He moved from Italy to live in Nairobi so that he could away from his work. So some of you can relate to it, right? Working full time and then trying to take some photos in the weekend. And Federico go extreme. He not only tried to do weekend trips in the local parks. He went to Kenya to show that he can go to Masai Mara in his weekend. And for the last 27 years, right, Federico, or something like that. 22 years. That is his dream, and that is his constant strive to perfect his mastery of photography. All the photos he worked hard for, and all he wanted was to bring his art to share with the world. Like one guy's dedication for over 20 years, and all some of the best photos being put in this beautiful book. So yeah, I highly recommend you to definitely pledge on it. And for pledging, some of you, if you go to the page, or you can not only buy the book, but you can also select, like, some of those is like buying a print, right? So some of, like, can you say a few words, Federico, about like what else they can do?
We're basically, the Kickstarter has been going on for about a month. We are at the final day, so we have one more day to play. So the element of urgency, if you haven't done yet, is very strong. We basically, you can have the book, you can have the book combination of this book with the previous one, with One Life, and you can have the last few. There's only a couple of limited editions of the book yet. We will do a limited edition of 50, and there's only 2 left. All the other ones have been bought already. Plus, there's a few prints available, including this photograph, which is probably my favorite photograph ever. My first encounter with these elephants. So there's quite a few things available for you besides the book, and which the book is going to come out in December. So late November we'll ship it out.
Okay. Yes, fantastic. So I hope that this talk, we go over 30 minutes something, and hope you guys don't mind. But I hope that this talk will bring you some information and knowledge about like why the big tuskers, and what is the impact of hunting, human conflicts, and those, and also we also talk about some beautiful stories that Federico shared with us, and we talk about the elements of what makes a great photo of an elephant, and what are some of the common mistakes. So I hope that if you haven't photographed or seen a big tuskers, I highly recommend you to get this book and then learn from the photos about all these stories, and then maybe you can plan your future trips to see and photograph and express your art with these beautiful big tuskers. Who knows how many more years we are able to see them, because 20 of them, and please share with your friends as well, so that more people would know. Like seriously, like only until a few years ago when I first heard of big tuskers, because I really didn't know at all. So like even with like wildlife photographer fanatics like me didn't hear about it in the other side of the world. So I think it require our biggest work to share more about this knowledge, and how the human impact has been affecting our wildlife, and as Federico mentioned, about the whole ecosystem, right? How important they are, and not just about the whole ecosystem. They are just so beautiful and majestic, and kind of reminds us of all the the ancient, like it's just like I don't even know how to say it. My English is not good, but you guys get the understanding. So yeah, thank you so much, Federico. Let me just take a quick look at the comments and see if there's anything that is good. You are more than welcome to email Federico if you have more questions. But okay, so yeah, Andrew, great to see you. Pelani, yeah, fantastic. Funding deadline is tomorrow. Yes, so of course you can still buy the book in the future, I bet. But
later,
like
yes.
yeah, but then that this is the only chance where you can buy the book in plus some other things that Federico included in the in the thing. And
it's a slightly discounted rate, huh?
Yeah,
It's
and
a
discounted
discounted
rates.
price.
Yeah, so you actually make like
Pre-order.
you actually save a lot of money. Like I was looking at those, and yeah, those are great. And Beth, thank you. Yeah, we are all working on it. And Andrew, very inspirational. Yeah, like photographing a task, like you know, like it's just such a moving moment when you see these big tuskers actually exist in this world, and then when you see them now, what are the mistakes of how not to photograph them so that you can get a great photo, right? So Feleni said Federico's parents slightly disappointed that you're not doing economics as a fusion. No way. I think his parents are super proud of him. Yes. So okay. So some of the people ask you which are the organizations where they can support African wildlife and specifically elephants.
There's when we talk about conservation here in Kenya, we have a few organizations working particularly actively in the Amboseli and Tsavo ecosystems. Amboseli, Chulu Hills, Tsavo ecosystem, which are the places where most of these photographs come from. And this would be Big Life Foundation, Sheldrake Wildlife Trust, Tsavo Trust, more dedicated to Tsavo. So these, and Amboseli Trust for elephants as well. Amboseli Trust is more on the research side. It is the organization that has studied the elephant population of Amboseli since the 1970s, basically. So they know each elephant individually, and they also support conservation, of course. Elephant Voices, they do extremely interesting studies on elephant behavior. In particular, they recently came out with the discovery that elephants actually call each other in different ways. So they actually call each other by name. That's why the project is called the Elephant Voices, because they've studied a lot on the calls of elephants, on the sounds of elephants. So they've interpreted, worked on, analyzed, compared the studies, the sounds of elephants throughout different populations, that they've come out to realize that different sounds correspond to different elephants, just to show how complex and intelligent and these creatures actually are. So Amboseli Trust and Elephant Voices, they're stronger on the research side. Big Life, Sheldrake, Tsavo Trust, more on the conservation side.
Yeah, and of course, our good friend Margot with Federico's cover photo of remembering elephants that you guys can definitely check out. I think Remembering Wildlife is doing a lot of great works, and yeah, last time when I talked to Margot, and then she told us that Federico was one of the reasons for her to go ahead with the Remembering Wildlife, the whole thing. So I think that Federico is just a great photographer and a great human being. So yeah, definitely follow him in Instagram as well. You haven't, and I mean we'll keep on working together as well, and let's all work together to save our animals. All right. Okay.
Thank you so
All right.
much. Thanks,
All
everyone.
right. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tim.
Bye.